So, picking up from where we last left off, guys. 2 weeks ago, we said our goodbyes to Nevitz and ventured onwards deeper into the Scorched Grove. You've all encountered a variety of fiery creatures haunting the place, as well as a new ally, Wilkus, the Tender Druid. You faced off and killed an ash snake, as taking its eyes as a sort of a trophy. Not long after, the ground kind of began to quake as a colossal monstrosity surfaced in a pyroclastic eruption. You chose to flee toward the tree line away from the Colossus, and as you continued to run, you noticed the creature had stopped gaining on you, and a few moments later it had completely vanished from view entirely. Now, looking back, you can still see an ominous red glow through the trees, and a plume of thick smoke rising over the horizon. You made it to safety here in the forest. Taking a moment to catch your breaths, you have a chance to plan your next move. What do you wish to do?
Probably report back to Humblewood what we saw, right, gang?
Yeah.
Sure. As you continue to follow Tueva, the tender, as well as your new found ally, the ox and the cart creaking along. You see a large part of the forest has been burnt away in the wake of the creature, but it seems to have mysteriously given up chase. Shaking but unharmed, Tever shudders. That was a close one. I agree. Best we make it for Alder Hut to give our report. I can lead the way, it's just shortly there. And he points eastward down a forest path that most tenders use. Wilkas especially, you would know that the tender's path is often used to traverse between Alder Hut and the eastern face of the Scorched Grove. The journey ahead, it will take you about 1 to 2 days. Then as you venture forth, unless you wish to stop anywhere else along the way, it is a safe journey, more or less, thanks to the efforts of your guide.
Awesome.
Just fixing my camera, I realized I was like frozen the entire time. You make it back to the city safely. As you reach the council plaza, you can still see the thick plumes of smoke from the massive blaze to the far west. Having heard and felt the massive creature's movements, the council is much eager to hear first-hand account of what has happened in the grove.
Okay.
Does anyone know what we saw happen?
Are you asking me?
I'm asking the party. You don't know.
I'm gonna turn you up a little bit. You're mighty quiet there.
Yeah.
I'm gonna turn you up to max, but hopefully it's gonna help. Ask again?
Wilkes is sort of still in a state of shock from that creature they saw, and he's asking, like, does anyone know what we saw out there?
Big fire rock monster.
Yeah.
That's quite the simplification.
Wilkes, from your days as a tender, you would have encountered plenty of such fire monstrosities, not of that colossal size, but nonetheless of that nature. Elemental monstrosities made of flame that seem to have taken a liking and attuned to the Scorched Grove and its grounds. Seem to have been born from it and gone strong by it. You and your tenders would have worked years to try and quell this disbalance. But then again, you never saw such creatures of this colossal size.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. As you make your way up to the council chambers, and assuming you're delivering your report of what you've seen.
Yeah.
Okay. The council members accept the news of your encounter and losses with sadness, anger, and confusion. Whatever this creature is, it represents a threat to all life in the wood. Beta, the council speaker, goes to speak. This is most concerning, indeed. Many elementals have resided in and around the forest for centuries, but this one harbors a rage that eludes explanation. We must find a way to understand this new threat. You recognize one of the council members, a scholarly-looking birdfolk whose gray plumage hides her eyes. Sage, the tender you met so many days ago, rises to speak as well. In a soft voice, she whispers. This sounds like a monster straight out of ancient tales. An elemental colossus of great size and power. The tenders of the past have come to name the aspect of fire. Now that it has awoken from its long slumber, it's only a matter of time before it fully replenishes. Once it does, the aspect will surely have enough power to reduce all of Humblewood to ashes. And especially grizzled-looking Vulpin, seated to Beta's right, smashes his fist down upon the council table and yells, "The first rule of battle is to know that enemy. Let them seek knowledge in the place that holds it all. Surely the Dean of the Avium, Gabe Winsworth, would have the means and insight to tell us more of this thing." Speaker Beta nods in agreement as she addresses you all with a steady voice. She says, should you, or rather, should the Dean be unable to assist you, the Avium is home to the largest library in the wood, and its many tomes may be your best chance of finding more answers.
Thank you very much. That's gonna come in handy, absolutely.
And-
Where do we find this person?
The Dean of the Avium resides there, in the Avium. It is about a 2 to 3 days journey east. You can see it from here, and indeed, pointing out from the council chamber window to the east, even from this distance, you can see a large spire-like hunk of a tree. It seems to be made of some grey bark with rotating platforms around it. Even from this distance, it's large enough to see from the treetops. Any information regarding this creature will be most valuable. More than that, we would welcome by any means its defeat. In the meantime, we'll begin preparations to rally Perch Guide in case Alderheart should come under threat. Alderheart's people, all its people, must remain safe. Embark on your quest to stop this monster as soon as you are able, heroes, before this colossus consumes the land.
This is certainly a more most pressing matter. I've noticed in my times out in the... I don't remember what this place is called.
Birch Grove?
Yes. I've noticed in my time out in the Scorched Grove that the fire elemental creatures that were attracted there were aiding to help spread the flames, but a creature like that would have devastating effects.
May I ask, what do they eat? Like, what do they oh, well, I'll have to check
What?
in the library. Never mind, I will have to check in the library. I was gonna ask, like, what does the creature eat? Because, you know, it needs sustenance to create its power or its fuel.
But I know that.
Any such... I mean, you would have known that it is capable of killing, but you're not sure if it is consuming. In fact, even the ash snakes, you're not sure if they need sustenance or they're just driven by this elemental rage. From your observations, you've never seen it actually eat or drink from the waters, or in fact, you've never seen it near bodies of water or anything of the like. It seems to be bent on entirely just destruction.
Lovely.
Junko, you still have the ember cores, right? The rocks?
They're into party inventory.
Or part of your inventory?
Yeah. Like, it's Hunter's character who has them, but they're like everybody has them, or like Chungo has them. I'm not sure.
Great. I just wanted to make sure that we still had them there because that would also be something good to look up in the avian.
Avium.
And
Yeah.
I don't say that. Sorry.
Before you are dismissed, Speaker Beta has one last bit of business with the little tender, Teva. Beta addresses the little sable luma among you. Teva, the tender sapling. With a wave of the hand, she summons him to the council table before her. You also see Havel, the frail gallows tender, appear from the back of the room and pass a gilded, ornamental box of some sort into Beta's clutches. Beta says, "Approach closer," rising to stand and presenting the gilded box to the tender. "Sapling Teva of the Spring Path, on behalf of the branch's autumnal keepers, and your tender sisters and brethren, for great valor, for the sake of order, demonstrated amid the scorched grove, we present you with a clock pin and make you a summer bloom this day. You have shown your ability to marry steady and experience this. She stutters. You have shown great service of nature, as well as demonstrated that you have both the courage and wisdom to lead. Henceforth, others will follow you. As you have followed your mentors. I'm sorry, it has been a long day. Honor the memory of those who lost their lives in the grove by directing the movement of newly recruited wardens so that the balance is always kept in check." With that, Beta unlocks the gilded box to present a golden circle with a summer flower embossed upon the ring in precious silver metals. A twig bisects the circle to part and complete the sigil of the tenders. The speaker secures the pin to Tever's coat, whom all the while mouths the pledge and oath of flame taught to every tender of the wood. When it is all done, Beta goes to say, "Go now, rejoin your order and acolytes. We may call upon you again to head up the effort to quell the forest fires, the colossus, and all fallout with the rain. For now, take your well-deserved rest, Summer Blossom Teva." And with that, he departs, joining Havel as they make their way out of the council chambers. In terms of you guys, the aspect of fire poses a great danger to the wood, but there's still a good amount of time to deal with the situation. While the council scholars cannot make any concrete predictions based on your observations, many theorize that the aspect of fire may need to remain near the area that is closely tied to the elemental fire magic. Unless there's something else you wish to speak with Beta with, you may depart to make your preparations for your journey, or do whatever you want. So, yeah.
Awesome. Okay. I say we go to the Avium to get valuable information to fight against the fire monster, because I have questions that wouldn't be answered.
Yes.
Sure.
Works.
Okay.
News of both the awoken creature and the destruction has wrought spreads throughout the whole city. Many rise to the occasion, volunteering to help you in your efforts to stop the fires from spreading. As a sort of gesture of thanks, Havel and Tever eventually find you, short time thereafter, and award you with a feathered helm for your good work and assistance. The helm is decorated with Havel's gallows feather as thanks for Tever's safe return, as well as a Luma's feather to honor the memory of Nevitz.
Oh, so sad.
I think I have a handout for it right now, and whoever wishes can attune to it in the time that you have. A feathered helm. Yes, I do. As such.
Oh. Is that for, like, is it one or is it everybody?
It's one. It's a token of thanks.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
That's nice.
You are also given a special requisition from the council to aid in fulfilling the mission to stop the creature. Before you leave, you may equip this unassuming piece of paper stamped with the seal of the Aldhard Council to requisition up to 500 gold pieces worth of equipment from any shop in the city. The requisition can be used in separate stores or all on the same one. Likewise, it can be used to pay for a portion of an item, such as a weapon or a piece of armor, with the rest needing to be paid in coin. You can use it now, you can use it later. It is up to your deciding.
Awesome. So what do you guys want to do? Do you have any plans to go in the city or?
Chug was okay with going to the
I didn't
Avium.
originally, but if we have 500 GP worth of credits of sorts, we should probably use those on potions at least a few to get at least a few good potions. Or wait,
I think that would be wise. I agree.
actually, can we buy the materials to make a healing potion?
Yeah. There are
That's-
various alchemical shops. Among them is that Lizard's Lizard Man's shop that you can buy essentially, but it will take you like a day to brew a potion, right?
Okay.
But yeah, it will be like 25
I
gold pieces
think
for a
because I think the only person in our party that has the ability to heal is Pavo, I believe. But I think healing potions would definitely be wise.
You
Yeah,
should.
sure.
Does Wilcas wish to buy the ingredients for a potion? And take the time, the day to brew one?
Mm-hmm. How many ingredients can I buy?
So depending what kind of tier of potion you want. Do you want the basic one, the greater one, the superior one? Because that will change the price.
I think the basic one should do for now, but
Sure.
maybe I'll get one greater one as well.
So for a basic healing potion, the common one, that'll be 25 gold pieces for the ingredients, and it will take you 1 day to brew it. For the greater one, while it is more uncommon, they still have those ingredients, but it will take you a lot longer to brew it with what you have here. However, from just passive gossip, you would know that the Avium has a mighty laboratory that really expedites brewing potions. That you can just hold on to those ingredients and brew it there.
Okay.
So in the day, you can go ahead and add, deduct 25 gold pieces for the common heal potion, and it will say you made it that same day. For the greater healing potion, it is. We'll look up the price in a moment, and I'll let you know in retrospect how much to deduct. Okay. While I do that, does anybody else wish to do anything on the city?
I think whether it be before we go to the ABM or after, Ashling would go and visit the home for the orphanage and spend some time with them, as well as take a moment to write a letter to send to Nevin's family. I know we addressed that last time, but I think that now that she has a moment, she would do that and send it to Nevin's family.
Does Nevitz have a family?
Did he? I think so.
No, but the
No?
guild like his family.
Sorry?
No, but the guild was kind of like his family. The guild that he and I think Bella were with.
Then how about this? Ashley would write a letter kind of like to Nevitz, kind of like all this kind of thing, and then she would keep it on her person to lay at his grave in, is it Meadowfen, or whichever town it was that we buried him in.
Meadowfen.
Meadowfen, so that next time they pass that area, she can put it
Wholesome.
on his grave.
I like it. Oops. I'm gonna have to whisper and not become Lucas, yes. That's very wholesome, I like that.
Because in the back of her mind, she
Yeah.
still thinks about Sweet Dove and how he was just too young, especially after spending time with the kids at the orphanage and just being like, life's too short. And also, like, because within all that, she's just thinking back to her own past and her brother that passed, again, too young, and it just all bringing up a lot of really bad memories.
Alright, anybody else? Anything before you leave, essentially?
I'm good.
The Avium lies to the east of Aldehart. From special observation platforms in Aldehart itself, the gigantic floating structures of the Mage College can be seen rising above the trees of the forest. The college isn't terribly far, and the roadway curves around the eastern forest in order to avoid most dangers which lurk in the ancient wood. Looking over your map, you'd estimate your journey would take 3 days by road, riding your cart and atop your mounts at a steady march. It is over yonder. From your earlier research on various animals that dwell in the lands that were shared to you by Pavo, you would know that this is part of a wood that serves as nesting ground for many forest prowlers, deadly predators that grow leaves and vines on their fur for better blending with the surroundings. One could cut a path through the forest to save on travel rather, but at a risk of an ambush. Navigating the wood would save you a day of travel, at least. Essentially, you have a couple options or whatever you wish to do, whether to take the main roads or literally just go whoop.
Do I got some bandit routes through there?
There would be some to be found, but it's essentially the same as the latter option, where you're cutting through away from the main roads, away from the patrols of the Perch Guard, to use abandoned routes to kind of take a little risk and save on time. Same deal, essentially, yeah.
I feel like there's a bit of urgency to our situation, so I think it might be beneficial to do some cross-track. What do you guys think?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. You begin your journey east. As you make your way down the forest road, you notice an increasing presence of Birch Guard forces. Some are escorting merchant caravans carrying supplies from Brackenmill. Others help anti-coalition prisoners to face trial and sentencing in Aldehart. As you continue down the road, further away from the great city, you encounter several intrepid groups of ex-bandits turned rangers wearing the uniform of the Wildwood Brigade. Some escort supply trains at refugees to prepare camps where food, shelter, and medical supplies are available. Others simply greet you all as they trek deeper into the woods, nodding their respects to Chungo for all the aid he has provided to the coalition in their transition. It seems like most are doing their part to keep the wood together in these trying times. Alas, not everyone shares Benna Seridan's idealism. You tend to overhear a few brigadiers speak of a reform coalition that splinter off from the desperate groups, led by none other than Crawl himself, the Scavenger King. The Perch Guard have begun to sidelong bounty hunters in an expedited effort to capture this last sliver of the coalition banditry. Aside from that, all seems peaceful as day turns to night and exhaustion begins to take hold. You may continue or set up camp as you make your way about taking the bandit routes and following Chunga's lead more than 1/3 the way there before night settles. What do you wish to do?
Set up camp?
Do you still have your Urt, Bongo? That's
Yeah.
what we called it. Yeah. Not the Urt. Ashley will take first watch.
Sure. As you take your first watch, go ahead and roll me like a general perception roll just to see how vigilant you are this night.
Can I scavenge for any useful herbs or stuff around?
One thing at a time. Ashling, you stay vigilant and awake for the most of your shift. Despite the wilderness about, you and your companions remain undisturbed for most of the shift.
Wait, I realized I rolled the wrong one. Oopsies.
Persuasion. I mean, I'll just take your roll and
Here,
I'll redo the mod.
perception.
Yeah, you.
Still good.
Yeah. I mean, sometime halfway through the night, you look up to see two chirping night birds. One bird's feathers are like bright as pearl and seem to kind of reflect moonlight. The other bird's feathers shimmer with a onyxian sheen of black. Both their beaks are latched onto what looks like a thread of blue silk twine, which they are like locked in a little tag of war between each other.
Fun. There's two birds and they're fighting over a piece of string.
Yeah.
And you said it's like silk? So
You
like nice fabric?
Yeah, from the way it shines in the moonlight and gives off a glow, it looks like very fine silk. Like from the robes of somebody really high up there in ability and society.
I think that's really weird. Can I go do a perimeter, like walk like, I don't know, 10, 20 meters in away from the camp and kind of do like a perimeter check?
Yeah, you can. You sure can. What are meters though? I only deal in feet because D&D. Yeah. Sure.
There's what? 3 feet and a third.
Mm-hmm. Taking a patrol around, still using that 20 perception. Ever vigilant. What are you looking for? Just general threats or anything specifically?
I think I'm trying to see if I can find perhaps the source of this fine silk and see if it's just like coincidence that the birds found something like that or if there's a source nearby for it.
Sure. Take a perimeter check around looking for any robe on the ground or a piece of fabric on tree branches. Even with your astute night dark vision, you don't seem to see anything of the sort. However, you do suddenly detect a rustle in the bushes. It's an odd sound, for it is accompanied by something bipedal that honks.
Bipedal that honks. Okay, little goose.
It's about 10 feet away from you, past the bushes, on the edge of your encampment. Everybody else just seems to be asleep in the large dirt, and all the while you hear something scrunging around, a little clanking of like metal or something wooden against metal, and a very soft stifled honk.
It's rustling a bush nearby. I have night vision. Can I climb a nearby tree to see if it gives me better vision around past the bushes, past the
Using your clawed grip, you get a better vintage of the thing, and you look toward direction, and you see indeed the full silhouette of the shape. It seems to be on its knees, scrounging around. It appears its hands are minute, and its feet are minute as well. But it seems to have a large haunch on top of it, from which a long neck ends in a head that keeps on honking. This creature seems to be scrounging around looking for something in the grass.
I will get down the tree and get as close as I can in the cover and use my ambush prey. Yep, that's the thing I have, and just continue to observe it.
You're using Bewitching Guile for what reason, sorry?
The ambush prey. I can cast ambush prey, which basically makes me invisible so long as I don't
Turning
move.
very still, you blend into the shadows and become melded with them, camouflaging yourself against the bark.
And I'm gonna continue to observe this creature as it searches. I'm
Sure.
just watching.
Alright. As you continue to observe the creature, I will answer what Wilkus asked me beforehand. As your companions went to sleep, yeah, you're searching around for like herbs and stuff.
Yep.
You do manage to find a very rich patch nearby. This section of the ancient wood is a joy to behold for a fellow tender such as yourself. There are plenty of flora here that can be serve as various reagents, and should you find the proper equipment for them, can be used to brew a whole matter of potions. Anything from healing salves to aids to help wounds stay uninfected, to treating burns, to helping plants grow faster, depending on what you're looking for specifically. As the night deepens and you continue to kind of like pick up herbs here and there and until you have a fair collection, you can't help but feel like you have something watching you. The fur on the back of your neck keeps rising, and it's a general creepy feeling, and your companion doesn't seem to be able to keep quiet now and then.
I look around, see if I can see what I think is watching me.
Sure. Roll me perception. The feeling of being watched becomes paranoia, and you are unable to see much in the woods. Not any small creatures hopping around. Nothing at all.
Take as much flora as I can and quickly make my way back to the town. Best I can.
Sure. Ashling, the creature you were just watching, the hunched monstrosity with its grotesque form, now makes its way out of the bushes and toward your companions in the camp.
In combination with my mobile, or just using mobile, which allows me to dash, and plus I'm super fast, and terrain does not impede me, I dash parallel to the creature, to hopefully beat it back to my camp to wake my party members.
Wilkus, you feel a gust of wind rash by. You look to see a blurry shape blur past you and just sprint toward the camp. And your goose just goes of panic as it does so.
Am I able to recognize that the creature running real quickly past is Megan?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So I'll ask her like, hey, what's going on? Why are you running so fast?
Quickly as I'm running by, I'll be like, something's coming. As I continue running towards the camp to wake up Rolo and Chongo.
I hold my quarterstaff in 2 hands, looking around like what's going on. Like I don't see anything coming.
Do you wake your companions? Do you do? What?
I've already run past Vilcus at this point. I literally just like heard his question. It was like something's coming, and as I continued to run to go wake up Rolo and Chango.
I wake up.
Jungle wakes up.
There's something coming. It's a really strange creature, and I observed it for a while. It just kept searching for something, and now it's dashing towards us. I don't know. I still don't really know what it is, but we best be ready.
Alright, I stand up to my feet. I gather my stuff to prepare and brace myself. Don't know if it's dangerous.
Jungle pulls out his mace.
You pull out your mace, waiting for the worst. All the while, you can hear Russell outside. Wilka seems to be alone in the darkness with his staff out, looking around.
I went back to the tent, so I'm with everybody else. I'm out. I guess I'm alone outside if everybody else is still inside the tents.
No, we went outside the tent.
We're waiting outside.
Outside.
You form a ring outside the tent. The oxen awakens too and like just looks around. Brenda pops her head outside the tent, looks around. Moo. All darkness around. A very tense atmosphere settles in as you anxiously wait for any sign of movement. Something flutters past real quick into the tent. Something minute flutters about, drops something, and flutters out of the tent. Looking on the ground, you can see the small piece of twine, the silken thread of blue. Flying off is the black feather bird, joined by the white one. They swirl about, and then disappear behind the tree line. The wind blows, rustling in trees, all is quiet.
What was that? Did they say something?
Do we recognize like what the creature is, or?
Yeah, it seemed to have been a small songbird that is for some reason awake at this time of night.
That's
Fluttered
not
aside.
the creature that I saw.
Which way did it come from?
Because the songbird fluttered in and out of our tent while we were on patrol, whereas the thing that I saw wasn't the size of a songbird. It was bigger? Correct me if I'm wrong. Songbirds don't have long necks and honk.
Honk.
So I'm assuming this is a goose or a swan. Take your pick.
I'll look inside the tent. Do I notice that anything is missing?
What are you looking for that's missing? There's a lot of things in the tent. Everybody's stuff is in the tent. The card is in the tent.
Yeah, just like in general, from what I may remember is supposed to be a part of our inventory, and just looking real quickly at anything at what we have laying around. Do I notice anything maybe missing?
You never went to sleep. You're carrying all your stuff with you still in your backpack, in your large haul of a backpack with your companion in it. Everybody else's stuff seems to be in order, but you're not familiar with what everybody's carrying. But you know, things look more or less like they haven't been disturbed. I mean, your companions were there guarding it too.
After the disturbance, I kind of shuffle back over towards Chango and Rolo, and I describe to them what I saw, what I was observing, and try to figure out like what it was, and stating that this disturbance of the songbird, it definitely wasn't the songbird, that whatever it is that I saw is still out and about.
Would you like us to go explore? Or do you want to just leave it? Do you think it's urgent?
It was such a strange creature. It looked like it was looking for something. I didn't necessarily get any kind of menacing vibes off of it. It just was really, really strange, and when it took off towards our camp, it startled me. With our luck, I'd rather play safe than sorry.
What do you think, Chungo?
We look around.
You look
Look
around, your companions. You just see your new companion just sitting there, you know, all like, I wonder what it was.
We can all see in the dark, right? We all have dark vision.
Yeah.
I do.
I think so.
Someone should probably stay at the camp just to make sure everything's good. We shouldn't all wander out.
I can stay. Yeah, I don't mind.
Gonna stay, Rilla.
Yeah.
Go out and look. Rich. Because
Sure.
you're gonna come with us, or are you gonna stay with Rolo at the camp?
I'll stay at the camp.
You're gonna stay at the camp, so just me and Chungo.
Sure. Those of you who head out, do another perimeter check real quick. While nothing living stirs anymore, you do come across a curious sight. Unnoticed before in the bushes, where the forest seems to become strangely disorienting to look at. Just off the beaten path, you come upon a set of bones. From your doctor vision, you can barely make out that they've been picked clean a while ago and are growing moss.
Can we tell from what species these bones are from?
Yeah, like a general like medicine or nature check will tell me how well you would be able to judge these bones, what species they're from. So it's really up to you, medicine or nature. You would be able to tell that these bones are that of a giant elk. It is seems to have been fed upon some time ago and picked clean by one of the forest prowlers. You find a few more tracks in the soil that indicate that the prowler has moved on some time ago.
So it was an elk, so it definitely was either taken down by a skilled hunter or a very large predator. Can I ask, Chungo, are you with me or are we walking around separately?
I'm with you for sure.
With me? Do you recognize whether or not, because I'm assuming having been with the bandits, you guys have done quite a bit of living off the land. Does anything seem odd about these, or do you think that it's just byproduct?
I inspect if there's any like weapon chips. Oh,
Yeah, there's no lacerations of a blade or knife per se. It looks to be have been naturally fed upon. Picked clean quite thoroughly, but other than that, you don't see any traces of it being hunted by any bird folk or humble folk weapons. No scabs across the bones from arrow tips or anything.
I'd like to, since this is just something we've come across, I'd like to grab some.
Who left?
Did my headphones die? Oh, I can still hear you guys. You guys can hear me?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. Left.
Carry on.
Is it you, Tom? Did you leave?
No, I'm still here. Carry on.
I'd like to take some of the bone. I'm trying to figure out which bone I want.
There's the
Probably-
giant antlers of the beast. There's its rib cage, the spine column. It doesn't seem to be missing too many. You find 2 hooves, a very large elk femur.
I'd like to take if I can, like a piece of the antler, because elk have very, very large antlers. I cannot carry that much antler. If I can, whether using one of my blades, hack a piece of it off, because it wouldn't be that hard. Horn's not that hard of a
Yes,
substance,
you do
or
so.
antler's not that hard. Cool. Grab a piece of that, and I would also like to take a piece of, like, where did the
Even in
Sir,
this dark
a
vision, darkness, in the grayscale of your vision, you can see that the bone has been yellowed slightly, but bleached mostly by the sun over the days it has lain here. It still has a fine film of lichen across it, but it snaps easily for it has been sun dried. And you have a good, like, 2 to 2.5 feet of, like, elk horn.
feet.
Yeah.
That's a lot. How large is this elk?
It's 10 feet in height, standing up from the judgment of the skeleton.
Cool. So yeah, so I have the piece of antler, and I also like to take a. Because there's a hollow. Take one of those.
Sure thing. With that, I'm not sure where Trent went. Probably just gonna go to the incident. But with that, the rest of the night seems to be rather quiet. Whatever it is you spotted has either gone away, or at any rate, you don't see it for the rest of your watch. Come sunrise, those of you who have slept, let Ashling and whoever else remain on watch get some rest as well. This counts as a long rest for those of you who need to restore your spell slots or health points and whatnot. By
Awesome.
yeah,
No, that's just good. Good.
by the start of your second day, you begin traversing the difficult terrain that is the ancient wood. You climb up and travel via the road. Some of you may want to travel via branch works. It's really up to you. Pavo and his mount prefer the upper branches rather than the forest ground, and is to leaping from branch to branch as you continue onwards. The whole forest begins to become dimly lit at best as the canopy becomes thicker and thicker. The dense undergrowth of the ancient wood begins to take over the forest path, becoming a thick carpet of ferns, moss, and other plant life. You see gigantic 6-story high trees that form the canopy block most of the sunlight here, immersing all in a perpetual twilight. Despite your map, you find some trouble navigating your surroundings. There are no landmarks here you recognize, and some of you begin to get sort of disoriented. Trungo, you're the lead here, leading them through these bandits. You and one other person can choose to roll. I'll give like pseudo advantage if you want. If you want to roll me like a survival check or anything like to see if to try and avoid essentially getting lost.
Do that. I'd probably be more familiar. Never mind.
You need to fix your volume, man. I can barely hear you.
Bad.
Hang on a second.
Yeah. So you guys start to see that
How's that?
as Chungo continues like leading guys, an air of uncertainty kind of dawns on you, Chungo, as you realize that like, oh, some of the landmarks that the bandits usually use are not here anymore, and the overbearing nature of the forest just begins to become a little disorienting.
I would be more familiar with this area. Maybe I should try leading us.
You can help. You can give a hand. Go ahead and roll me survival, and I'll take the best of the two. Okay. This far away from the Scorched Grove, from where you usually work, the woods are not as familiar as your home base, but nonetheless, as a fellow druid maneuvering through the forest, you manage to lead the party not onto back to the path, but at least to a safe spot, more or less. The forest becomes you lose your way along the way, but walking off the beaten path you walk a few more minutes through the forest thicket, and you come upon a clearing. This grass meadow surrounds a calm pond of clear water. You see several monoliths encircle this pond, each standing about 5 to 10 feet tall. The monoliths are smooth, have been smoothed by weather, and are covered in this like multicolored moss and lichen running from deep green to bright yellows. Several giant elk graze gently at the grass and moss, and as well as take a drink from the pond, or otherwise lay down to rest here. They seem undisturbed by your presence, even with a wolf hawk among you. It seems like they're calmed and made docile by the serenity of this place.
Interesting.
Do they speak? Do we know if they speak, or are they like using gibberish?
They don't seem to be speaking. A few of them make animal noises as elk would, but and from just general knowledge of the natural world of Humblewood, you would know that most giant elk are gentle creatures who are, alas, but animals. There are some greater beasts that are capable of speech, but not. These don't seem to be the kind. There are, regardless, quite majestic, but oddly docile. Some of them have like this very droopy, sleepy look to their eyes. Some of them are fallen asleep even during this time of day. Some of them are grazing at the lichen. Some of them take a drink and immediately go to sit down and eye you with a very lazy gaze.
Does it look normal? Does it look like they're sick?
They look healthy. Roll me insight to see how much. Like, are you looking for like any ailments, like medicine, or are you looking to see like animal behavior? Do they look like they're like limping or in discomfort or whatever?
They look tired. Let me look for. I have to roll what? Sorry.
Insight. If you're trying to
Insight.
just detect just general like animal behavior,
I don't think I have insight.
you have insight. It's under I. In your skills.
Insight. There you go. Well,
They seem silly. It's a very
silly.
silly way. Usually an elk would panic and like, trot away and or flee with its pack or herd rather. These ones, you can encroach as close as like 5 feet to a giant beast, and it would not react. It would just turn its head stupidly towards you and give off a slight snort, and then lay its head down and keep looking at you with those puppy eyes.
Interesting.
Do we maybe see anything that would give an indication that this is perhaps not a wild herd of elk? Perhaps there's some kind of humble folk or bird folk about that might have done some domestication with these elk?
Curious angle. While you don't find any colors or markings on their fur that would mark them to belong to a domesticated herd, that is not out of the question. These seem to be either indeed domesticated or otherwise made docile by some form of magic or a very long-term learned behavior. Aside from that, the serenity of the place is quite calming. The lake seems to give off a slight glow, surrounded by these mysterious monoliths. This seems to be like a safe place of rest. There's elk, there's the pond, there's the moss, but there doesn't seem to be anybody else here, like leading the herd or shepherding it.
How does this area feel to me as someone who regularly communes with nature? Is it like I'm in this area of sovereignty and it feels like I've taken the freshest breath of air possible or something ever or something like that?
Sure, yeah. There's of many places in the forest that have been touched by the amaranthines one way or another. This seems to be one of them. All of Humblewood has some majesty to it. This place, especially the pond here, seems to have been touched or blessed by some forest spirit some time ago, of one nature or another.
That's good. It's really pretty, very beautiful sight.
I don't want to dictate what everybody does. You can just tell me.
I wanna
Can Ashley would like to go. I'm gonna go down to the water, and is it mostly kind of like very wetlands, so very vegetation heavy near the water, or is there just kind of like some like pebbly areas?
Hopefully.
Describe pebbly, like with stone.
There is vegetation, especially close to the shore. There's many like various lilies that grow here, and life seems to really thrive along the edges of the lake. Deeper in, you can see the bottom of the lake is made from like smooth little stones and pebbles that have that dancing light effect that the sun does as it traverses across water. The water here is almost perfectly crystalline clear, and goes no deeper than 10 feet in depth as it traverses toward the center of the pond. Yeah, many life, all manner of creatures. Doesn't matter who you find, whether it be flying dragonflies or like a few toads or frogs. They all have that same docile peacefulness to them. The way they move, the way they very leisurely swim about, the way the fireflies lazily kind of flutter very slowly and then like land on a nearby leaf. No hectic movements, no nothing. Just very.
I would like to go to, and like with, especially with the sun shining and stuff like that. Ashley will go to the water's edge and even go into the water to collect the shiniest stone / pebble that she could see.
As the cool water caresses your fur and you reach down, can you roll me a charisma save?
Save?
Yeah, charisma save. You reach down, touch the smooth pebble, and as you bring your paw out of the water, depending on your save. You feel some sort of magic take a hold of you, begin to, but it seems that you're giving the choice to either suppress it or let it take hold of you, rather than it innately forcing itself into your inner soul, so to speak. You can either let it charm you or let it settle somewhere else.
Can I get any innate feeling of whether this is something malicious or if it's just...
You just begin to feel very lethargic and calm. Any worries that you had earlier today seem to kind of ebb away, and old fears and old sadness about Nevis seems to kind of be forgotten for a moment as you kind of descend.
I think with the way that Ashling's been going the last couple of days, I think that she would really welcome the sense of ease and allow herself to be lulled by the water.
Essentially, Ashling, you are being affected by the spell Calm Emotion, which specifically, as you let it take hold of you, any frights, any disorienting charms seem to be ebb away, and you start to become very indifferent toward the worries. Thoughts enter your mind of like, why even bother fearing the large fire creature? Why bother fearing any of my phobias? Really, this place in Serenity, I could just stay here forever.
Uh-oh.
Interesting. I still pick up the pebble though.
Yes, the pebble is in your
And
hand.
I pick up the pebble and I slowly go back to the camp and I kind of just like grab my whatever stuff, whether it be my bag or whatever, and I kind of just lays back and I do some nice cloud gazing.
Yeah.
How long? Sorry.
Sorry. Continue.
I was gonna ask like how long, like out of character, how long has it been since like we've arrived and since she's like approached the pond and all that?
It's been minutes.
10 minutes, okay.
Like,
Just
yeah.
keep it that.
As you lay down and watch the clouds for a few more minutes, you begin to feel the sensation ebb away. It still lingers a little bit, but it's not as intense now that you're out of the water.
I think she would still, even
Yeah.
as she feels the sensation kind of leaving her, I think she would still ride kind of like that wave and just kind of